Welcome to this next edition of CTQ Smart Levers. The reason why we started doing this series was to just share some of these ideas and concepts and frameworks that have helped us a lot in our work. And we believe anyone who's looking to up-level themselves, up-level their teams, and just be more future relevant, they need to know about these concepts, frameworks, and just get a sense of these are the levers that you should have in your arsenal that you can take out from time to address different problems and situations that you face. So today we want to talk about this idea of the golden circle as proposed by Simon Sinek. Ramadan, let me bring you in at this point. What is this golden circle all about?
Thanks, Harish. So Simon Sinek popularized this in a very famous TED Talk. It's one of the most viewed TED Talks of all time. And he starts by comparing, say, a company like Apple with other kinds of companies. And he calls our attention to the fact that most people or most leaders, when they're describing what their company does, there is always this mass of information you want to convey. And they usually end up starting by telling the world or telling their team, this is what we are doing. We are creating this product, or we have this offering, this service in place. Then they talk about the mechanism through which they bring it to life. And it's all this very inward focus approach. And eventually, at some point, they say why they are doing it. Sometimes they don't even say that. And so, what Simon Sinek advises everyone, especially leaders, is to actually invert it. He calls our attention to all those people from Martin Luther King to Apple and so on, who seem to start with the why. Why are we doing this? The rest of it then follows. And the other advantage is that your why remains your North Star. Your what and your how may change with the passage of time. But when well chosen, your why is fairly timeless, it is steady. And that's how you can orient your team, your attract the right kinds of customers and users to it. Incidentally, when you started this episode, you talked about why we are doing these smart levers. Maybe if I was doing it, I might have fallen into the trap of just defining a smart lever as a set of videos that we are putting together to tell people about some interesting concepts. But it makes so much sense to set the agenda with the why. And that's what the golden circle is all about. It's three circles, in fact. The innermost is the why, then the how and the what. And Simon Sinek says, start with the innermost why first.
And is this something that we should be thinking about or looking at when you are trying to solve this mega problems of why does a company exist? Why is Apple there? Or should we be thinking about this in everything that we do? It could be an ad or it could be a small team within a business unit.
Think back to one of our previous episodes on story structures, where we said that for any kind of story that you're planning to tell, there are a variety of structures, like the hero's journey, for instance. So, on one side, we can think of the golden circle as creating a very simple structure for communication. Whenever you are communicating, there is just so much you can say, and there are so many different combinations of or permutations of the pieces of information that you can talk to someone about. And so these story structures give you that little bit of a template to similarly the golden circle, I would say you should add to your list of structures. Now it can be used to communicate that grand vision, but most of us are not going to find ourselves in the situation where we are doing it every day or we are probably at this moment just come back from writing an email or composing a document or designing a landing page for our new idea or creating a document around a hackathon proposal that we have. And so even in these so-called everyday pieces of communication, you should really consider something like the why, how, and what in that order. Because when you write an email, there is a reason behind it. And if you're writing to someone senior, you want their approval for something. Why not start with the why? It gives them the context, the larger picture, what we've also heard of being described as the commander's intent in the military world. It sets the stage for whatever you're going to say. And then the rest of it is mere detail. Once the leader or whoever even your team, I'm not saying only upwards, it's also with your peers. Once they understand that, they'll be in a much better position to understand the rest of your communication. So it's not really about those grand vision statements. It could be well expressed in a email to make it much stronger.
So start with the why is a lot more important than what's in it for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And any specific use cases where we've helped our customers use this idea?
Yeah. So in a lot of our engagements, we are introducing something into the ecosystem of the company. So if it's a, you know, get people interested in innovation, they might be a channel that gets that people at their level first see something like an email that is sent to them, or they are invited to a session on a book about innovation. And they the danger is that they see only these point blinks in the whole landscape. So we spoke in a previous episode about the culture diet. So again, you might use your internal Slack channel to start pumping out this culture diet, but the individuals who don't see the overall picture might just wonder what is this, and worse, they may misclassify it as yet another engagement activity or just some training activity that's happening. And so they, since they don't know the overall picture, they file it away as tactical, mundane, boring, nothing for me. So that's where, especially when the early days when we are setting the stage, we recommend to everyone who's communicating on our behalf, or when we are designing those pieces of communication, to tell people about the why and keep reiterating it. And later also, I think in any meeting that we would go to, even if it's an internal meeting, we start with that recap of the why, the context. It's just to orient everyone in that collection of people to where we are headed and what is going on. If it's like what happened in the story so far, we are all in the middle of that story. What happened so far and what is the villain that we are trying to defeat? I think these are all very simple ways in which to create that very quick alignment with a group of people.
Yeah, yeah. I think again you have covered different roles and kinds of people who will benefit from this. But any specific use case that you would want to call out?
Yeah. So I would say that anyone who is creating that first, the change action, if you're a change agent and you're trying to
Hmm.
create interest in something that you have just proposed. So in most cases, it will be leaders, it will be someone like an innovator, an idea seeker, a creative person, an owner within the organization. So they all need to know the golden circle. But I would say that as someone, and we are all recipients of communication these days, even as a recipient, try to quickly slot what you are getting into the why, what, how. Your communicator may sometimes miss out telling you the why. But if you're aware of this, you can ask that smart question in that audience and learn more about it. So, yes, the traditional sources of communication within an organization, it could also be people who are in PR, employee branding, people who are recruiting, absolutely must start with the why to attract the right kinds of candidates. But I think even as an audience member, you have a role. If you were to be asked to summarize that all hands in what happened, how, why are we doing this strategy, how are we getting there, you can use the golden circle as a very quick summary for yourselves.
On that note, Raman, I wish somebody actually tries to make this more sticky by starting the alphabet with Y and make sure that everyone remembers that you have to start with Y every time. All right, thank you.